Hi there, welcome to our short tutorial on safeguarding. This tutorial is really relevant for small community groups and those who perhaps do not have a safeguarding policy in place already. And we're just going to talk through some of the information about what safeguarding is, why we need it, and how you can start thinking about safeguarding and your organisation. So what is safeguarding? Safeguarding is the action that an organisation takes to promote the welfare of children and vulnerable adults to protect them from harm, including physical, emotional, sexual and financial harm and neglect. It includes making sure that the appropriate policies, practices and procedures are put in place and that staff and volunteers are aware of these. So why do we need safeguarding? So all individuals have the right to live in safety, with dignity, free from abuse and neglect. And safeguarding comes from a rights-based approach, protecting individuals from harm. It's also important to ensure that your staff and volunteers feel confident and know what to do in the event of a safeguarding issue arising. So it's about protecting both the people that you work with and the people who work for you. So shift the power in safeguarding. As part of your application, you will be asked if you have a safeguarding policy already in place. The three possible answers to this are yes, no and not yet. You will also be asked to detail what safeguarding procedures you have in place to protect participants, volunteers and staff. We may get in touch while we're assessing the applications to find out further information on how your organisation approaches safeguarding and what some of your procedures are. So it's really important to make sure that you tell us clearly how your organisation approaches safeguarding, as it really is an important part of the application form. So if you don't have a safeguarding policy in place already, these are some questions and some things to start thinking about with your members and with staff and volunteers. So you would think about your group and identify where and what the safeguarding risks are, and it's also important to look at who is at risk. So this could be children, young people, it could also be vulnerable adults. You need to look and you need to know how people can raise concerns about a safeguarding issue and how you would respond to it. Lots of organisations have a report template, so it's a blank form that all staff and volunteers would complete if a child or a vulnerable adult raised a safeguarding concern to them. Organisations also have a safeguarding lead, so one member of staff or a key volunteer who all concerns would be reported to. You also need to know what you do with these concerns once they've been raised, and on the website you see here, www.mygov.scot/report child abuse, is a good place to look at and find out who your local authority contact is should you have a particular issue that you need to raise further. You also need to ensure that all your staff and volunteers are aware of what to do in the event of a safeguarding issue. So that might be that you provide regular training or regular advice for new staff. You also want to think about how you check that your staff and volunteers involved in your work are suitable to do so. So mostly that is done through PVG checks, and if you are a community group or a voluntary organisation, Volunteer Scotland actually provide a free PVG check service for voluntary organisations. So that's completely free, you don't have to pay the fees associated with PVG checks, so check out their website and get signed up to that. And lastly, if you do employ staff, you want to be thinking about including a whistleblowing policy within your safeguarding guidance. It's also useful to think about what actually makes a useful policy, so something that people will read and they will actually take in and use. So is it easy to read and understand? Is it easy to find, either online, in an email, as a printed copy perhaps when your group meets? Where can people find this policy and check what their obligations are within it? Is there a clear way for people to report concerns? And is it reviewed annually or updated as your work evolves? And the last thing to think about there is the policy proportionate to the work that you're doing and its depth and detail for the size of the organisation? And that is really where you look at your work and assess where the risks are, and if there aren't a lot of risks, you perhaps wouldn't need as detailed a policy. That's something that's really important to consider. And lastly, here are some useful sites and information that you might want to check out if you are thinking about updating or creating a new safeguarding policy. So the NSPCC have lots of policy examples and materials which I'd really encourage you to read. Volunteer Scotland, as we've mentioned, have got free PVG processing, so you need to register for that, and you can do that via that website. Check out who your key local authority contact is so that you know who you should be reporting concerns to. SCVO have some really useful information on safeguarding, particularly relating to charities, which also might be useful for community groups, just as a point of reference. And NCVO also have some specific guidance on actually writing a safeguarding policy. If you do have any further questions, please do just get in touch with myself or Jane. You can give us a call in the office, or you can contact us at the shiftthepower@corra.scot email address. Thank you for listening.